The axis of resistance has devastated areas in Israel. In retaliation for Palestine from all corners, the United States and Europe have stepped in to assist Israel. Does this mean World War III is about to start? If Israel has been bombarding Gaza ruthlessly, the country has retaliated by being attacked from all sides. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant stated that Israel was attacked from 7 regions, namely Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Judea, and Samaria, Israeli term for the West Bank, Iraq, Yemen, and Iran. Since the major attack by Hamas in southern Israel on October 7th, which killed 1,140 people and took up to 250 hostages, militias allied with Iran in the Middle East have launched attacks against Israel and U.S. military installations throughout the region. The conflict in the Gaza Strip, controlled by Hamas, has turned into one of the most devastating battles of the 21st century, with more than 20,600 casualties, 50,000 injured, and 85% of Gaza's 2.3 million residents forced to evacuate. A failed 7-day ceasefire in early December led to an escalation of attacks. Israeli forces continued to launch strikes on refugee camps in Gaza, signaling an intensification of their military operations. This violence indicates the potential for the conflict to expand beyond Israel and Palestine, including a recent incident in Egypt where a drone was shot down near the tourist city of Dahab. The conflict also includes attacks by Houthi rebels in Yemen, targeting international ships and launching attacks on Israel, as well as U.S. military actions in Iraq against Kataib Hezbollah militias. Meanwhile, nearly daily exchanges of fire between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon are increasing regional tensions. In the midst of deteriorating conditions, the U.S. is trying to lead negotiations to de-escalate the violence on the Blue Line between Israel and Lebanon, where the risk of escalating into a regional war is very high. Despite growing international condemnation of the humanitarian situation in Gaza, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insists that military operations will continue until Hamas is fully defeated, indicating that the fight is not over while visiting troops in Gaza. So, which areas have been destroyed? Let's start with the areas destroyed by Iran. The attack on Israel was truly a shocking development. Why is this the case? Until now, as far as we know, Iran has primarily been a behind-the-scenes player in almost all military group attacks in the Middle East. What raises questions about this attack is what motivated Iran to launch such a sudden offensive. To answer this, it's crucial not to underestimate the statement by Sarah, an independent Lebanese geopolitical analyst on Platform X, that Iran is not starting a war by launching drones and missiles at Israel. Instead, Iran is defending itself against a series of Israeli actions that have targeted Iran. Indeed, Israel and Iran have been long-standing rivals and have engaged in a shadow war for many years. Iran claims that Israel has violated international law by targeting civilians, destroying hospitals, and places of worship in Gaza. Moreover, Israel has breached the Vienna Convention, the primary legal instrument governing international diplomatic and consular relations. The Vienna Convention of 1961 establishes the basic principles that govern diplomatic protection and ensures fair treatment of diplomatic officials. Israel's violation of the Vienna Convention was further compounded by the destruction of a consulate building in Damascus, Syria, which resulted in the deaths of at least 7 officials, including Mohammad Reza Zahedi, the top commander of Iran's elite Revolutionary Guard, and senior commander Mohammad Hadi Haji Rahimi. Thus, these are the reasons behind the barrage of drones and missiles fired at Israel. The Iranian offensive included 170 drones and 30 cruise missiles, along with about 120 ballistic missiles. The Revolutionary Guard Corps of Iran stated that a number of ballistic missiles were launched almost an hour after the drones, causing both drones and missiles to strike Israel almost simultaneously. Then, around 2 a.m. local time on April 14th, a series of explosions shook Jerusalem. Concurrently, the air was filled with the sound of explosions and air raid sirens across all of Israel, from Tel Aviv to West Jerusalem. This unprecedented event followed Iran's launching of hundreds of drones, ballistic missiles, and cruise missiles in a retaliatory mission, as previously mentioned, pushing the Middle East closer to the brink of regional warfare. However, Israel claimed to have successfully intercepted nearly all, or 99%, of the more than 300 projectile attacks launched by Iran. Only a few ballistic missiles managed to reach Israeli territory. Meanwhile, all cruise missiles and drones were intercepted before they could enter Israeli airspace. Israel's ability to repel these attacks is supported by its advanced air defense systems, including the Iron Dome, Arrow 3, and David Sling. All these systems successfully shot down incoming weapons and disrupted their electronic guidance systems to impair missile navigation. Many drones even fell while still over Syrian airspace. Moreover, the military forces of the United States, United Kingdom, France, and Jordan also played roles in defending Israeli skies from Iranian missile and drone attacks. American aircraft reportedly destroyed more than 80 Iranian weapons before they could reach their targets. France deployed its naval forces to provide radar coverage. And what about the Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates? They shared intelligence, including radar tracking information, with the United States and Israel before the Iranian drones were launched. Yet, in Israel, there was damage to military base infrastructure, specifically in southern Israel, and one young girl was severely injured. Despite this, there were no fatalities. This raises a crucial question. Why was there any damage if Israel successfully intercepted almost all incoming drones and missiles? Indeed, 99% of the more than 300 drones and missiles launched into Israeli territory were successfully intercepted. So far, there have been no reports of any casualties on the Israeli military side. It was reported that only a 7-year-old child was injured due to fragments from a missile that was destroyed by Israel's air defense system. However, Zionist military expert Or Fialkov claims that Israel is not telling the truth about intercepting 99% of the missiles and drones from Iran. Several Iranian missiles and drones still managed to penetrate and reach Israeli territory. Iran successfully struck 3 targets within Israel. Among them, 5 ballistic missiles successfully hit the Nevatim Air Base in the Negev Desert, which is the launching site for F-35 aircraft used to attack Gaza and the Iranian consulate in Syria. Additionally, the Ramon Air Base in Negev was also not spared from the Iranian drone attacks. 4 missiles successfully hit their targets. The third target was a radar station on Mount Hermon. Although the strike successfully hit the base, Israel reported that the attack only caused minor damage to some military infrastructure. However, the impact of the attack created a significant crater around the base. The missile that penetrated Israel's defense was the Khaybar Shikhan. This is one of Iran's most advanced missiles. The precision-guided missile has a range of 1,450 kilometers, and indeed has the maneuverability to bypass missile shields. Another important feature of the Khaybar Shikhan missile is its optimal design, which is a third lighter compared to similar models, and its preparation and firing time is faster than similar missiles. But most importantly, this missile has high accuracy and the capability to hit its targets. The warhead that the Khaybar missile can carry weighs up to 550 kilograms and can withstand very high temperatures. Indeed, only a few drones and missiles successfully hit their targets. However, this level of inaccuracy, according to military experts and defense officials, may have been intentional. At the very least, Iran managed to pinpoint the locations of the Iron Dome batteries in the Kfar Bloom settlement in northern Palestine. Now, Hezbollah forces from Lebanon continue to launch a barrage of attacks on these Iron Dome batteries. Though the damage inflicted was relatively minor, Iran's attack on Israel marks a new chapter in the history of conflict between the two Middle Eastern powers. Notably, this was the first time Iran directly targeted Israeli territory. Many are concerned that this attack could escalate tensions in the region to a more complex level. The ongoing war between these two Middle Eastern superpowers has moved beyond the shadows of proxy wars and covert operations. Although the April 14th attack did not cause significant losses for Israel, it has provided Iran with a strategic advantage. The advantage in question stems from Iran's ability to orchestrate a large-scale multi-front attack, evidenced by the missile launches from militia groups across several countries. This demonstrates that the attack ultimately serves as a platform for Iran to remind its adversaries of its strength and influence in the Middle East. This event also boosted the confidence of Iranian citizens in their government. This was evident from the thousands of Iranians who took to the streets, cheering and celebrating the attack on Israel. Additionally, the Palestinian population applauded as Iranian missiles flew over Israeli skies. On the other hand, although Iran uses Article 51 of the UN Charter as justification for its attack on Israel, many countries are deeply concerned about the potential domino effect this could trigger. Historical records show that Israel has an unwavering resolve to always retaliate against any attacks it faces from others, a fact that also worries the international community. World leaders have expressed their concerns that this conflict could lead to further escalation in the region and have called for all parties to exercise restraint. The European Union, through its chief diplomat Josep Borrell, has strongly condemned Iran's attack on Israel. Meanwhile, Iran has received full support from Putin, who believes that the attack is the best way to punish Israel's criminal actions. Despite this, there is still a glimmer of hope for maintaining regional and global stability, which is becoming increasingly fragile by the day. Iran has stated that their objectives have been achieved, and they will not continue the attacks. On another note, US President Joe Biden has also warned Netanyahu that Washington will not partake if Israel launches a retaliatory strike against Iran.
Ya Allah! Hey, Muslim!
الله أكبر أرجله يا محمد يا بيس أرجله فجر المطار نحن بلي نفضه لا هذا عندنا لا مش عندنا
And next, the areas destroyed by Hezbollah.
The conflict between Israel and Hezbollah first broke out a day after the Hamas attack entered Israel on October 8th. On that date, Hezbollah immediately fired rockets at the Sheba Farms area in support of the Hamas attack. Israel responded to this attack by firing artillery and deploying drones towards southern Lebanon. Hezbollah's initial attack on October 8th then continued, forcing Israel to divide their attention between fighting in the Gaza Strip or at the Israel-Lebanon border. Hezbollah's subsequent attacks were carried out on October 11th when they fired anti-tank missiles into the Ma'alat Tassira area. Israel, known as a country with superior military strength in the Middle East, had a bad day then. Surprisingly, Israel was tricked twice by Hezbollah, starting from the deception of fake drones and also false siren sounds.
we got to the Israeli border and there were air raid sirens.
On that embarrassing day, Israel then encountered an unpleasant situation on October 13th. Their attack on southern Lebanon unfortunately resulted in the death of journalist Issam Abdallah. The death of Issam then led to significant condemnation of Israel, who were accused of deliberately targeting the Reuters journalist. The escalating tensions between Hezbollah and Israel continued. On October 15th, Hezbollah fired anti-tank missiles into the Stula area in northern Israel. This attack was met with a strong response from Israel, which reportedly used white phosphorus in rural areas of Lebanon. The use of white phosphorus led to scrutiny from Amnesty International, who considered it a war crime, as white phosphorus is a banned ammunition in modern warfare. The conflict persisted, with Hezbollah attacking the city of Metula with anti-tank missiles, crippling the city's functionality. Then, on October 21st, a series of Hezbollah attacks were directed at various areas, including the Sheba Farms, Margaliat, and Hanita. Less than a month after the intensification of their conflict, by the end of October, Hezbollah claimed to have attacked 19 Israeli military sites with guided missiles, rockets, and drones. After a series of attacks in October, did it all end? Certainly not, as the Hezbollah leadership committed and warned Israel that they were ready to engage in a regional war if Israel did not stop its attacks in Gaza. Even on November 3rd, Hassan Nasrallah, a key figure in Hezbollah, stated that they were not afraid of the presence of United States warships in the Mediterranean Sea. Hezbollah's firm stance on not relenting in their attacks was proven on November 5th. On this date, Hezbollah downed an advanced Israeli Elbit Hermes 450 drone and also launched anti-tank missiles into the Yiftach Kibbutz area. The attacks continued on November 10th, with Hezbollah launching anti-tank missiles towards the town of Manara. This offensive was followed up on November 16th, targeting the same ammunition in the areas of Stula and Hada Yaron. November 20th turned out to be a particularly bad day for Israel, as their military base in Biranit was destroyed due to a missile attack. The attack on November 20th marked the last assault carried out by Hezbollah, as they then de-escalated the conflict in respect of the temporary ceasefire agreement in Gaza. However, this pause in hostilities was only temporary. On December 1st, as soon as the ceasefire ended, Hezbollah and the Israeli military immediately engaged in combat. On December 3rd, Hezbollah fired anti-tank missiles at an Israeli military base in Beit Hillel. Hezbollah specifically publicized this December 3rd attack as a significant victory. The attacks carried out by Hezbollah in December were more aggressive than before. After successfully overpowering a military base, Hezbollah in December also targeted Israel's Iron Dome air defense system located in northern Kabri using Iranian Basra ammunition. According to Hezbollah's claims, they successfully hit Israel's Iron Dome and claimed a major success. From the Israeli side, there has been no statement regarding the attack on the Iron Dome. Observations may indicate that Israel might not want to admit that their highly praised Iron Dome was defeated by Hezbollah. This observation came after a building in Kiryat Shmona was hit by a Hezbollah missile, yet no siren sounded, and there was no interception by the Iron Dome. The breach in Kiryat Shmona has been seen as a significant signal that Israel's Iron Dome has been compromised. After successfully overcoming Israel's much-vaunted Iron Dome, Hezbollah continued their attacks with even greater fervor. Towards the end of December, Hezbollah even bombarded Israel with 8 attacks in a 12-hour period, demonstrating their commitment to fighting Israel until peace in Gaza is achieved. Observing the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel from October to the present, it seems this conflict will not be resolved quickly, especially with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, threatening to turn southern Lebanon into a new Gaza Strip if Hezbollah does not cease its attacks on Israel. Similarly, Hezbollah vows not to stop attacking Israel until Israeli forces withdraw from Gaza. Hezbollah's commitment is clear, even reflected in their manifesto at their formation. Our struggle will end only when Israel is eliminated. We do not recognize any agreement with it, no ceasefire, and no peace treaty. Seeing that both parties are adamant about not yielding, we naturally arrive at the question, what's next? Will the Hezbollah-Israel conflict escalate into a full-scale war? According to experts, a full-scale war is unlikely to occur. One example comes from Jeffrey Feltman, a former U.S. Assistant Secretary of State. He stated that Hezbollah would continue to attack Israel, but only to demonstrate its credibility in resistance. However, Hezbollah will not take any actions that could trigger a full-scale war. Jeffrey Feltman's statement is corroborated by Raz Zimt from the Middle East Institute, who believes that a full-scale confrontation between Israel and Hezbollah is too costly a price for Iran, the nation funding Hezbollah's actions. Another reason why the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel is unlikely to escalate into a full-scale war is the potential for greater losses on Hezbollah's part. A primary factor is Lebanon, their home base, which is currently experiencing a severe economic crisis with one of the highest inflation rates in the world. Furthermore, Lebanon is also grappling with a significant political crisis, making full domestic stability hard to achieve. Therefore, if a full-scale war were to break out, Hezbollah could lose its base and find it challenging to organize its forces as effectively as they do now. If international organizations like the United Nations wish to see the conflict between Hezbollah and Israel resolved, the solution lies in one approach: compelling Israel to cease the war in Gaza and granting full sovereignty to Palestine. If Israel agrees, then it could be free from Hezbollah's attacks. And if Hezbollah continues to attack under these circumstances, then clearly Hezbollah would be in the wrong. As a country that has often faced negative sentiments from its neighboring nations, it must be acknowledged that Israel has grown into a strong country, primarily in the military field. This is evidenced by the various military technologies that Israel possesses. One of them is the Iron Dome, which is considered the most advanced and effective air defense system in the world. According to claims, the Iron Dome has a success rate of up to 90% in intercepting aerial attacks. Quite impressive, isn't it? However, the effectiveness of the Iron Dome has come into question following the recent attack by Hamas on October 7th. It was shown that the Iron Dome struggled to intercept attacks when they occurred in such large numbers. Some Israeli cities even suffered damage from aerial attacks carried out by Hamas and other Islamic militant groups. Speaking of Israeli cities targeted by Hamas rockets and other Islamic militants, Tel Aviv is certainly at the top of the list. The capital of Israel has become a primary target for Israeli aerial attacks. It is not uncommon to see scenes like this in Tel Aviv's night sky with rockets and Iron Dome ammunition flying everywhere. According to reports, the Al-Qassam Brigade, the military wing of Hamas, has claimed responsibility for various rocket attacks that hit Tel Aviv. For instance, in the southern part of Tel Aviv, 2 residents were injured when their residential area was struck by rockets. There was also a rocket attack that hit an apartment in Tel Aviv, with IDF forces on standby and ambulances rushing to aid the victims. Several other attacks also caused panic at Tel Aviv airport. Furthermore, various other attacks were carried out by the Al-Qassam Brigade targeting the heart of Israel. According to their statement, these attacks were in retaliation for Israel's actions in Gaza. They argue that these attacks are not proportional to the thousands of casualties in Gaza. In their efforts to target Israel, Al-Qassam has not held back until a ceasefire is achieved. That's why they have circulated a new video showing their readiness to carry out further attacks using more advanced ammunition, namely the M90 rocket. This rocket has a range of up to 56 miles, making it capable of reaching Tel Aviv from various locations. The challenges faced by Israel's Iron Dome aren't confined to Tel Aviv alone. They extend to various other cities, including Ashkelon. In widely circulated videos, you can hear the warning sirens blaring, signaling the activation of the Iron Dome. However, as we know, the Iron Dome can't intercept every rocket fired its way. The recent rocket attacks have left a trail of destruction in homes, apartments, and even parked vehicles on the streets. Notably, Hamas provided advance notice of this attack and urged the residents of Ashkelon to evacuate, doing so 5 hours before the actual attack occurred. Hamas maintains that this attack sends a clear message that they won't back down until a ceasefire is achieved, even though Israel has restricted access to electricity, water, and food supplies. Apart from Ashkelon and Tel Aviv, rocket attacks have also targeted the city of Haifa. According to reports, they employed the R-160 rocket for this assault. The R-160 is a homemade creation by Hamas with a range of up to 100 miles. Based on available footage, we witnessed Israeli residents seeking shelter while the warning sirens continued to wail. After the attack, it was reported that there was no significant damage caused by the Hamas strike. The resistance against Israel's actions in Gaza is expanding. So it's not just Hamas and its military wing launching attacks on Israel. Islamic militias are also entering the fray. One such group hails from Islamic militias in Syria, which were observed launching multiple rockets towards the Golan Heights region. The Golan Heights is an area that Israel gained control of following its victory in the 1967 Six-Day War. In response to this attack, Israel launched a counterattack, but regrettably, it didn't quell tensions in Syria. It actually exacerbated them. Israel's attacks on Syria resulted in casualties, including a prominent Iranian figure. Consequently, after Israel's attack, a drone launched from Syria struck the Golan Heights once more. This drone attack is viewed as a strong indication of Iran's involvement due to the loss of their senior officials in Syria. In addition to the Syrian militia groups, attacks have also been carried out by Yemeni Houthi militias. Senior members of the Houthi group have confirmed their involvement in the attack on the Israeli-owned port city of Eilat. This drone attack dealt a significant blow to Israel. Not because of the damage caused, but because the port city that supports Israel's economy nearly came to a standstill. After the attack, 85% of the activities at this port were halted, which naturally rocked Israel's economy. In another attack, the Yemeni Houthi militia not only targeted the port, but also launched an attack on residential areas. The Houthi militia's struggle for Palestine is evident not only through their attacks on the port city of Eilat, but also by hijacking business vessels affiliated with Israel. This hijacking incident in the Red Sea even led many commercial ships to avoid the Red Sea, disrupting Israel's trade routes. Recognizing the significant impact of Houthi attacks, the United States formed a coalition to secure the Red Sea. Unfortunately, this coalition is reported to have lukewarm support for the United States. Attacking Israel's vital points seems to be a strategic choice, given the widespread effects it has, not only causing panic in Israel, but also affecting its ally, the United States. Another attack on a crucial point came from Iraqi Islamic militias, who recently claimed responsibility for an attack on the Karish gas and oil field owned by Israel. Located in the northern Mediterranean Sea, this gas and oil field is predicted to result in significant losses for Israel. Why? Well, the estimated natural gas reserves in this area are believed to reach 2 trillion cubic feet. Until now, there have been no official reports about what's happening at the Karish gas field. However, it's certain that Israel has reported they're facing difficult times in the Mediterranean Sea due to various drone attacks. In this seemingly endless conflict, Israel appears to be at a significant disadvantage. Economically, they are under threat, and politically, they also risk global isolation. Now, Israel faces challenges from within its own borders. After numerous casualties in Israel, and even reports that Israeli forces have killed their own citizens, the situation in Israel is deteriorating. Protesters continuously appear in Tel Aviv, with even these protesters reaching a very logical conclusion. If there are to be no more attacks from Hamas or other Islamic militias towards Israel, then it is Israel that must stop their ground attacks in Gaza. What these protesters are saying aligns with what Hamas has stated. They are ready to negotiate provided a ceasefire is achieved. However, it seems that Israel will not be willing to cease hostilities soon, as they are still compelling young people to join the war in Gaza. Even an 18-year-old activist named Tal Mitnick ended up in an Israeli military prison after his video went viral, showing him refusing to go to Gaza and participate in Israel's invasion agenda. With all that has happened, Israel, having claimed thousands of lives and also appearing stubborn domestically, should prompt immediate action from the United Nations. They should not be overpowered